There are some people who build companies, and then there are people who change the way the entire world lives. Steve Jobs was one of those rare people. His story isn't just about Apple or technology, it's about believing in impossible dreams, refusing to give up, and proving that one person's vision can inspire billions. Every time I think about his journey, I'm reminded that success isn't about where you start. It's about how far you're willing to go. Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, in San Francisco, California. Right after he was born, he was placed for adoption. Imagine beginning life without knowing the people who brought you into this world. But destiny had something incredible planned for him. He was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, a loving couple who raised him with kindness, patience, and endless encouragement. Steve later said that they were his real parents because they gave him everything that truly mattered, love and opportunity. As a child, Steve was curious about everything. He wasn't the kind of kid who accepted things the way they were. He wanted to know how they worked. His father, Paul, loved fixing cars and taught Steve how to take apart machines and put them back together. Those moments in the family garage planted the seeds for a future that no one could have imagined. School wasn't always easy for Steve. He was intelligent, but he often felt different from everyone else. He challenged teachers, questioned authority, and preferred thinking outside the box. Many people misunderstood him, but deep inside, he believed he was meant to create something extraordinary. After graduating from high school, Steve enrolled at Reed College in Oregon. But after just 6 months, he dropped out because he didn't want his parents spending their life savings on an education that didn't inspire him. Even though he left college, he never stopped learning. He sat in on classes that interested him, including a calligraphy course. At the time, it seemed completely useless. Years later, those beautiful typography lessons became one of the reasons the Macintosh computer introduced elegant fonts to the world. That's the amazing thing about life, you never know which small decision will shape your future. In the early 1970s, Steve met another young technology enthusiast named Steve Wozniak. They shared a passion for electronics and dreamed about making computers simple enough for ordinary people to use. Together, in 1976, they started Apple Computer from the Jobs family's garage. They had very little money, but they had something far more powerful: belief. The first Apple computer was a modest success, but everything changed with the Apple II. It became one of the first highly successful personal computers and transformed Apple into one of America's fastest-growing companies. Steve Jobs wasn't satisfied with technology to feel personal, beautiful, and magical. In 1984, Apple introduced the Macintosh. It featured a graphical interface and a mouse, making computers easier and more enjoyable to use. Steve believed that technology should serve people, not confuse them. His relentless attention to design and simplicity set Apple apart from every competitor. But life has a way of testing even the strongest dreamers. In 1985, after disagreements with Apple's leadership, Steve Jobs was forced out of the very company he had created. Imagine building your dream from nothing and then being told you no longer belong there. It was one of the most painful moments of his life. He later admitted he felt lost and devastated. Many people would have given up forever. Steve didn't. Instead, he started a new company called Next. While Next wasn't a huge commercial success, its technology would later become the foundation for Apple's future operating systems. Around the same time, Steve purchased a small animation studio from Lucasfilm. That company became Pixar. At first, few people believed in Pixar. Years passed without major success. But Steve kept believing. Then, in 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated feature film. It became a global phenomenon and changed the animation industry forever. Steve Jobs had once again proven that impossible dreams can become reality. Ironically, Apple soon found itself struggling. In 1997, the company invited Steve Jobs back. The man who had once been fired returned to rescue the business he loved. His comeback became one of the greatest in business history. Steve simplified Apple's products, focused on innovation, and inspired his team to think differently. Then came a series of revolutionary creations: The colorful iMac, the iPod, iTunes, the iPhone, and the iPad. These weren't just products, they changed how people listened to music, communicated, worked, and connected with the world. Steve Jobs believed that great products come from combining technology with creativity. He famously said that people don't always know what they want until you show it to them. That philosophy helped Apple become one of the most valuable companies in history. But behind all the success, Steve faced another life-changing challenge. In 2003, he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. It was devastating news. Even while battling illness, he continued leading Apple and unveiling products that amazed millions. He treasured every moment, knowing that time is life's most precious gift. One of his most unforgettable speeches came at Stanford University in 2005. He told graduates that remembering we are going to die is the best way to avoid the trap of thinking we have something to lose. His words touched millions because they came from someone who truly understood how precious life is. As his health declined, Steve eventually stepped down as Apple's CEO in 2011. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56. The news shocked the world. People from every country mourned the loss of a visionary whose ideas had changed modern life forever. Whenever I think about Steve Jobs, I don't just see the founder of Apple. I see a child who was adopted, a young man who dropped out of college, an entrepreneur who got fired from his own company, and a dreamer who refused to let failure define him. Every setback became the beginning of an even greater comeback. His life reminds me that success isn't a straight road. Sometimes life breaks your heart before it fulfills your dreams. The greatest victories often come after the hardest defeats. Steve Jobs didn't change the world because everything went perfectly. He changed it because he never stopped believing in his vision, even when no one else could see it. And maybe that's the most powerful lesson of all. Your background doesn't decide your future. Your failures don't write your ending. Your courage, your passion, and your willingness to keep moving forward do. Steve Jobs may no longer be with us, but every time someone unlocks an iPhone, opens a MacBook, watches a Pixar movie, or dares to think differently, a part of his extraordinary legacy lives on. His story continues to inspire me, and I hope it inspires you to chase your own impossible dream.